So we're at the coffee shop, hour ago?
Yeah, something.
And we're talking, and we're like, we got to record this because we used to meet in this basement for I don't know how many years.
Good 3-4 years.
And
something
those,
like that.
yeah, 3 or 4 years. And those conversations were the best conversations that I mean, it was so much fun. So I'm Pastor Kendall Adams.
Davion.
I'm Isaiah.
I'm Evan.
And we just want to take time to talk about our relationships in order to help people out there that this is how we move forward. Because even before all of this, we were talking about how crazy this year's been with COVID and the race tensions and all that. And we were like, this is surreal. And we're talking about how do we move forward, right? And then we talked about really it's going back to what we used to do anyway.
Yeah.
We used to be in this basement and we would hash out all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
How come you guys like that time? What was...
Well,
Why did we come together? You didn't have to come. None of these guys had to come to youth group.
Right.
Nobody had to come.
It was always easy to voice your opinion when you came here. Like everybody was able to speak freely. It was always everybody was always respectful, polite. Waited until one person got done talking.
There was no judgment.
Right, no judgment. Everybody would listen to each other. Like they'd listen, like actually listen and digest what another person is saying, and take it to another level and try to interpret it in their own way.
And what if somebody's quiet like Evan? What would I do?
You getting called on. Hey, what do you think about this topic?
Davion, go ahead. What were you saying earlier about that time period? Did I deal... Was there anything that we couldn't talk about?
Not at all. Not at all.
Right? I mean,
not at all.
Because I feel like, and you guys believe this, if we can't talk about issues and listen to one another and dialogue, everybody has a voice. Now let's listen to each other and work through it and even call each other out on, hey, have you thought about this, the ramifications of that?
I feel like that's the most like essential part of having these conversations is having something that you need to hear and then, it being brought to the surface.
Yeah.
The thing that I loved about youth group the most was there was complete honesty across the board. We would always be respectful and we would always deal with problems. But, there was nothing that was off limits and you could always just be real and honest. Like, I'm struggling with this. I don't know about this. Can we talk about this? It was just a complete honesty and respect across the board.
Honestly,
meeting.
I feel like, Kendall, you were the core of that for real because if anybody would come to you with something, you knew, I feel like you had everybody's best interest at heart.
Yep.
And that's what it all stems back to, I feel like.
Thanks, man. Can we all do that? Do you feel like all of us in our own sphere of influence, whether it's at work or at home or hanging out, we can all help us move in that direction?
That's the main thing because it's better to model how to be a good person instead of telling someone how to be a good person. Like for you model how to carry yourself.
Like you live it. He lives it.
You live it. You don't just talk about it. And when people see that, words don't even need to be said because you can feel it.
Right.
And that transcends, hey, go do that or don't do that because you carry yourself in the way
you preach what you practice
exactly.
and you practice what you preach.
That's what I'm saying. Basically.
But we were talking about earlier that if all of us take those opportunities, right? Because if we move forward, you said earlier, this has to be done in love, that love has to be at the center of moving forward. Why is that such a big deal?
Because honestly, I just feel like love is one of those things that it transcends any negative emotion, any situation, any circumstance.
And it's just like you wouldn't want the root of the conversation to be built on anything else but love.
Honestly,
but love and compassion.
Honestly,
really, that's the only two roots that I would ever want any conversation.
Because you got to think there can be we're here in Burlington, Iowa. There can be somebody across the planet and we might not have a single thing in common or that correlates from one to another, but love can be that thing.
When you talked about the peaceful protest, we did it right. You talked about that we didn't get recorded earlier, that we're not saying, it's all of these things together, our conversations, day to day, because as we move forward, right? We don't just want to go back to status quo ever.
Exactly.
All of it. We were talking about before we started videotaping. We were talking about hardships in life. that all of us, even my wife, when she lost her husband, 6 months pregnant, she said she could have got, she was starting to go down the bitter road, but she said, I felt like you come to these obstacles and you got this fork in the road and you can take the bitter or the better. And we started talking about that all of us, if you get on that bitter road, no matter what life throws at you, where does that lead ultimately if you end up becoming bitter at life?
You're putting yourself in a cycle. And that's the tricky part, because I mean, honestly, like Isaiah was saying, I feel like going through hardships is one of the most, it's weird because it's bad, like it's hard, a hardship, but at the same time, it can be the most beneficial thing for you. Because you would you become the person that you're meant to be by going through those things.
Right. It
because it reveals character and it shows you what you can work on yourself or let go of.
It helps you get closer to your truer self. Like there's no ego, no none of that. It's just purely you.
For real.
And people gonna see that, and that's what makes a person so charismatic, is if they you know.
If basically they boss up from the hardship that they went through.
Yeah, right.
Because a lot of people, what was I gonna say?
People gonna see like what you went through, and they're gonna be like, oh well, he really had to grind to get where he's at. Maybe, well, I want to do that too. I want to get money just like him, so I want to try and do what he did.
Right,
and I'm not saying it's never good to copy somebody. Don't do that.
But the main thing is, I think he's saying, is like people don't see the behind the scenes work that goes on.
Right.
And there's a lot, because you see a lot of people on Instagram or whatever it is, you think they're the most happiest people in the world.
Right.
Number one, they might not even be happy, but if they are, you don't know what took them to be happily internally. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Or what they had to go through to get to that point,
to gain that peace. You know.
Right.
Yep.
And that's what I loved about this youth group the most, because all of that fakeness, like that Instagram fake post about, I'm happy, I'm at this place, I'm doing all that, and it makes me happy.
Here's my thing.
Here we were real. Here we understood. Here we went through and faced the hardships.
I feel like if you got to go out of your way to tell somebody you're happy, you're probably not too happy. Honestly.
Do you remember, even back, years ago, did I bring up the issue of slavery?
Yeah, multiple times.
I told you the books that I was reading and how I hated the past. Was that good for you to hear? Because, well, first of all, I told you that I've hated racism before as a Christian, and even as a Christian, I continue to hate it and call people out on it. And what did that mean to you to hear me say I despise that in our country? And all of us, I know all of us do, but why do you think I continue to bring stuff like that up?
It's like, to me, and like how I thought of it, I felt it made me feel just joy. I was happy. It made me feel good to hear that somebody knew what was going on, and they weren't afraid to let their voice be heard, to let people know what side that you were on.
Because you could have easily just went on about your life and did your day-to-day tasks, but you look at the bigger picture.
Right. You took the time out of your day to study that and to acknowledge that. That's the biggest part. You acknowledge that.
Acknowledge it.
Right. You
because as a white person, it's very easy to ignore, sweep under the rug all the things that go on.
Yeah. Because sometimes those things they're hardships that you're like, oh, we can't talk about it. But by talking about it, it's not saying we're just going to stay there. But, acknowledging it and talking about it.
I saw this Einstein quote. He said, anytime you want to solve a problem, you can't solve that problem from the same level of thinking that the problem was created. Yeah. And that goes to show, like with racism, with anything, like with this conversation, we see all the problems that are going on in the world, but we're at it. We're coming towards it from a different angle, We're looking at it from a bigger perspective.
Right. I think having the dialogue and moving, that's not all we talked about, but throughout the years, we would talk about whatever. We, like you said earlier, I've talked about abortion, we talk about ethics or morals, how to deal with this. And so it's a mix, right? It's a good mix where people, those are some of my best memories of how we have to move forward in life, is through dialogue and listening and talking to each other.
It's just the fact that, it's weird because in this generation, 2020, especially kids our age, it's so easy to just entertain yourself all day with your phone or whatever, but to actually sit down and have a conversation about what makes us human beings is a conversation. Number one, it's hard for people. I'm not going to say hard, but it's not it's not even put up in the air to have a lot of the time for most friend groups or
like
whatever.
yeah, like,
They're just worried
most,
about what new song came out, what new pair of shoes came out.
Right, like what are you wearing tomorrow? Like stuff
But,
like that. Like,
I mean,
and it's just
But would you agree, though? I mean, all of our life, it's a mix of joys and sorrows, of enjoying yourself, whatever you're liking to do, because all of life just can't be heaviness of. I mean, there's stuff that's so weighty that you would drive yourself insane if you thought you were the one that had to fix everything. Versus we talked about earlier. It's working in our own spheres to do what we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
To better.
That's the thing, because so many, like, I feel like, which to your point is like so many people, like, I feel like, and this sounds kind of cliche, but like how Michael Jackson said, like, if you want to change anything, you got to start with yourself. Like, you can't go out there trying to change the world if you still got things you're working on the inside, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I've enjoyed challenging people, and you guys too. I mean, there's nothing better than not giving up on somebody and seeing their viewpoint change over time.
Seeing that, just seeing that, knowing that you changed somebody's life for the better.
Right.
Or at least sparked it in their mind for them to change. Because there's a certain amount of will that you have to have.
Right.
It could be the simplest thing. It doesn't have to be one life-changing thing.
It can be
It can happen over time. You can plant the seed of knowledge in them, and then over time, God will allow them to grow into that and to change. And that's just beautiful.
Absolutely.
Go to the person with the point that you wanted to make. Just water that seed every day, and pretty soon it's gonna boom.
Feed some pears.
And you know what? As I think about youth group, I used to tell people, none of the people who came were made to come. That's what was always exciting. You know, some homes, Christian homes, like you have to do this and you have to go to all these things. What I loved about it was, nobody had to come. Nobody was going to be getting in trouble for not coming. And to me, I mean, those are some of the best memories of and I'm not a youth pastor anymore, but that doesn't mean we stopped doing what we did then. Of having every week, anybody have any question whatsoever? Is there any topic?
And that's how you'd always start it off, too.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And if somebody, like we said earlier, if somebody's interrupting somebody and not letting other people talk, we'd say, hey, at times we'd even throw cold water on them. Right?
Most definitely.
We want people to listen and stay awake, right?
Yeah.
Or not have seconds.
Yes.
But did we have fun too?
We definitely had fun.
No, we definitely.
I mean, we ate.
It was fun every weekend, honestly.
Eating together, talking, and not avoiding. We didn't avoid anything.
I'm going to say right now, for me personally, there's not many things I value more than conversations like this, honestly.
Me too. And just because we're not meeting as a youth group doesn't mean we stop this from happening. And we need to, this brings it out that we've got to continue to do this even more.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
We got to do it because it's too easy to become a recluse.
Very
right?
true.
I mean, anybody can become a recluse and just check out. And we just can't do that.
And that's why, like, every day, I try to do at least one good thing, one good deed.
One good merit.
Right, for somebody out there, just to help their day out. I might even do a couple, but I do it because what you give out is going to come right back to you.
Absolutely. I was just thinking about that, too. And I forget who I was talking to the other day, but I was like, it's the simplest things that matter. Like, you might, like, for instance, like, this happened like 2 years ago. I was like on my way home from school, and I went to stop at Sonic, and I had a corn dog, and I gave it to some homeless dude. And it's the fact, it's not even that. That was just a.
Do you remember when I used to challenge you guys in
Yeah.
school? And I know I'm not going to say who, but sometimes really you're asking me to find somebody that's down and out and different, and nobody wants to talk to, and try to love them and win them over. Now, would you admit when you're young?
It's not even about winning them over. It's leaving them better than you found them. That's how I look at it.
But would you admit that when you're a younger teenager, it's easy just to be in your own cliche, your own group, and not care about how other people feel?
Absolutely. That's you can go drive down Roosevelt, and it's clear. It's case in point.
Yeah. Well, I love you guys. I know you love me, and
love you too.
I love you too. And let's stay in the game, right?
Absolutely.
Let's stay in the game and
ball out.
And
ball out.
You're welcome. As you know, my house is always open.
Yeah.
You got my numbers,
Yeah.
and I've got yours, and 2020.
2020.
What's that 2020 vision, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
had to go
blurry,
get.
but...
Oh man, without these glasses, I couldn't see. Let me tell you this. I tell you this. Me becoming a Christian at age 24, though, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing if Christ wouldn't have come into my life and changed me. So I'm only changed ultimately because of what Christ has done in me, and I really do believe that.
But I want to tell you, yes, that was Christ, but ultimately you made that decision to go after Christ and
to continue to grow.
There's there's a will
so
factor.
I want like don't
you're
count
right.
yourself out.
You're right.
Like, you got all the credit in the world.
Well, you're right because I still have to be open to growing and listening and changing. Right.
I look at it like this. I think me and you talked about this one time, but you especially, but everyone in the world can be a tool for God to use for the highest power.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why I did what I did. Because if I am leading and teaching and listening, then you're growing and you're going to do that just like I'm learning and growing. And
I said you especially because especially for like when you were doing youth and just in general, you being at the church, kids are like a sponge, and I feel like people trust in you, especially at the church. People trust in you and believe in you. Yeah. So what you say resonates on a bigger type of level than just any person, you know.
Well, I appreciate. We haven't talked in a long time. I just got a text saying, "Hey, you guys asked me. You guys asked me. You want to meet for coffee?" So we sat down to have coffee, and it went from there. Was this planned?
No,
this
not
was
really.
totally.
We were me and Evan got back from Sonic. I was on my way to my cousin's house. I was like, did you bring it up or did I?
I think I brought it up.
Yeah.
No, but this time of videotaping this, was this planned?
Oh, not at all.
Was any of our conversation planned?
No.
This is totally off the cuff.
No notes, notes nowhere.
This is what I love. Folks, this is as raw as it gets. This is not choreographed. Nobody, we weren't even planning to do this. We're just planning to drink coffee this morning.
Like we just said, some of the best things come from not putting too much thought into it.
Yeah. But using our thought to work through it, right?
Yeah, it's a tool. Right. Everything's a tool.
So, man, I love it. Let's just hope and pray that we continue down this
better path.
That's good.
The positive road of love, light, joy, peace.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir.
So.
17.